This is the Huion GT-221 Pro. This is Photoshop and my name is LAWRENCEcan. So I've already done a review video of this in which you might have seen, if you've already watched it, you might have seen me do this draw test. Now in that video this lasted about 10 minutes or so, but this is, I want to say the full version, but I have sped this up slightly just because, you know, this lasts an incredibly long time. I spent, you know, a couple of hours drawing this, but I sped this up to about double time, so this lasts an hour and 15 minutes now. But I feel this way you can still see everything that goes on, you can still see all the detail, but yeah, this way it's just a bit faster. So let's dive in. I'm gonna cut between two views of this, one being this view that you can see right now, which is the camera, so you can see me using the actual Huion drawing tablet, and another view which is the screen cap, so you can see a bit more of what's going on in Photoshop. Okay, so let's jump right in. I'm drawing the Predator, reason being the new film is coming out soon, and I've been re-watching the first two films, obviously the best two films, and I'm drawing this completely from memory. I like to do that a lot. I could have had a photo reference, but I think if you want to be a better artist, obviously it's best to just try and draw, you know, what you can remember, and that way you can eke out any details. Now you get as far as you can into it, and then, you know, once you think everything's going either totally wrong or you think it's looking okay, once you get so far into the image, go and have a look at some photo reference images or pull one up in front of you. I thought this looked okay until after I'd finished, and then I kind of noticed a couple of things that I'd done wrong. But either way, I was happy enough with it. I might come back to this image later on, tighten it up a bit, make it look good, and then actually do this as limited edition short run prints that I might sell. So let me know if you think that's a good idea in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, etc. And if you're open to it, yeah, I might sell this as limited edition prints. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to be doing some more tablet reviews. I've got another Huion tablet review coming right up. All the draw tests that I do from now on, I'm going to put full length versions, or, you know, longer length versions of the draw tests up on their own, just like this, so I can talk you through what's going on. This way the draw tests are a bit more like tutorials in their own right as well. So what I'm doing here, first of all, before I leap into the color work, before I leap into any of the details, this is a basic line drawing. I'm just using Photoshop for this, but a lot of the time I use Painter. A lot of the time on smaller devices, more like 2-in-1s or tablets, I'll use an application called Sketchable as well. It just depends on the device that I'm using. I might change up the way that I work, but on a larger tablet like this 21.5 inch tablet with hotkeys, I'm gonna work in a very line art black and white style and then color it. Reason being, working tonally like this is absolutely great. It allows you a faster way of working. If I jump straight in with colors and then I notice mistakes, it's harder for me to correct them. So working very tonally like this is really nice and fast for me to do. And, you know, he's kind of looking like a really weird turtle at the moment, and I'm not kind of happy with this, but I can kind of see where he's going. You know, the overall head shape is right, but I've got to get rid of this kind of weird turtley beaky shape. So yeah, I know that the problem is kind of with the eye sockety bits, so it's about working that out for me. And I know the Predator has, I keep wanting to call him the Hunter because that's what the film was initially titled. I know that the Predator has these very deep set eyes, so I've got to kind of make that work. Funnily enough, in the first two films, I think if you combine those first two films, the Predator Unmasked only had about 5 minutes, if that, screen time. I think if I just start popping in his dreadlocks here, then he'll feel a lot more like the Predator. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Now, all I've done is I've got the Photoshop standard brush. I didn't mean to pop open the new document option there. It's just that I haven't programmed any of the hotkeys here. I'm just working more with the shortcuts that Huion have pre-programmed. I don't like to pre-program any of the hotkeys, you know, when I'm reviewing a tablet. I just like to jump in and use the ones that they've given me. So, you know, I did look at the options and I went through them all whilst doing the review, but when I'm doing my review video, I just like to use the pre-programmed ones and just, you know, use it naturally. So this is the Photoshop standard brush, and in Photoshop that's pretty much all I stick to. When I come back and work on this illustration later, what I'll probably do is do it in Corel Painter. If I do that, then what I'll probably do is do that in a separate video as well. I may or may not record that, it just depends on whether people want that. But yeah, you can already see he's starting to look a lot more Predator-like. So this is the Photoshop standard brush. I pretty much used one size at the beginning, but now that I'm doing the hair, I've just gone for a thicker brush. And yeah, it's really coming together, and all I've used is the black color, and that's it. The rest of it is just the white paper that you can see coming through from behind. And whenever I've wanted to use white, I've just used the eraser instead. On the stylus, there is no eraser tip because it's a rechargeable stylus, but that first button, that's set to be the eraser, which is actually quite a handy thing. And a lot of people kind of gripe about not having an eraser, but really, after 20 minutes in of using it, you don't notice. You really don't notice. And a lot of times, even though you've got an eraser on the end of a Wacom stylus, just for speed's sake or, you know, effort, you don't end up using the eraser on the end anyway. Maybe it's just because I swap from device to device a lot anyway, but I don't use the eraser on the end of the Wacom stylus a lot. You know, I used a lot of different styluses from a lot of different companies, so I don't always remember to use the stylus on the end of use the eraser on the end of a stylus that has one. But hey, I'm happy with the way he's coming. He still kind of has that beak feeling, but I know he's gonna get there. It's just a matter of getting him there, and until I can get him there, then I won't put colour on him, or at least I don't think I will. The mandibles as well need a bit of work, but it's just about getting that mouth right. If I had a picture in front of me, then that may not be so difficult. I think if this screen was a minimum of 2K, then I might have had a picture in front of me on this screen. Now you can see I've got this connected to a Dell laptop in the background. I could have easily had a picture on that laptop, you know, but I just don't always work that way with a reference picture, just because I'm trying to improve myself as an artist. So, you know, it's horses for courses. It's what you want to do, and I don't discourage anyone from having a reference picture. You know, I couldn't work out what I was doing with these teeth, and looking back, I can safely say these teeth are totally wrong. this is not what a predator's teeth look like. But at the time I had no idea what a predator's teeth looked like. I couldn't work it out in my mind. You know, I couldn't visualize the inside of a predator's mouth, and it was so funny. But you know, a particular time I stopped, I went off, I looked at a picture, and I was like, right, okay, I totally get it now. But yeah, he is coming along. That kind of beak is going now, slowly but surely, and I've moved down the opacity of that black that I'm using, and you can see that this is really coming together as a tonal image, so I don't have to worry about introducing color yet, but it is coming together as a piece, and I can just put color on top of this. In, if you were a traditional artist, you'd call it a wash, but in Photoshop I just have to layer colors in and then use the layer effects to create color layers, and it's quite simple and it works really, really well. Another thing you can see is that in Photoshop I've kept this purely on one layer here, which for me myself is actually quite strange. In Photoshop, if this was a professional piece, my professional pieces run over onto kind of 300 layers by the time that I'm finished. Normally in sketchy mode, I still go up to about 50 layers. But this being a review sketch, yeah, I can tend to keep them onto kind of 2 or 3, maybe 5 layers, and that's just for speed, you know. But at this point I've kept it on 1 layer because I'm just doing the tonal stuff. That's still, you know, that's still remarkably good for me, but it's because I'm using my eraser for my white layer, you know, and that's working really well. Like I say, I change the style I draw in kind of every time, which is good in terms of reviews because it means you can go and watch a load of my videos and you'll learn something different in the way that I work every time. But I know it also infuriates a lot of people because I draw differently every time. You may notice that I'll create a new layer, draw a bit, and then crush it down as well. But that's just because I want every time I draw or use the eraser for that to affect something that I've previously done. If I work on a layer and then work on another layer and then use the eraser, obviously it wouldn't affect the layer underneath. So I want it to always affect the other layer, the other drawing that I've done, so I always crush everything down. Make sure to go to Instagram there, folks, to see this finished thing, and also because I need more Instagram followers. I barely do anything on Instagram, but now I found a way to upload images to Instagram from my computer, which has always infuriated me that I couldn't do that, but I found a Chrome plugin that will do that. So from now on I will be constantly updating my Instagram. So yes, please go to Instagram and follow me at LAWRENCEcanDRAW, and give me a nudge on Twitter if you're on Instagram too, at LAWRENCEcanDRAW obviously, and I will see you there. So you can see this is continuously coming along. He looks a bit more every time like Predator. I will hopefully soon get around to adding a touch more colour, well, a touch of colour to this. I've just got to start adding those real Predator details to this. It's really hard to get something to look like something, especially without that reference image. You know, why torture yourself is something I started thinking, but that's primarily, like I said earlier, to make yourself a better artist, but also because this was a review and for me, it's more important to test out this drawing tablet. And I was blown away by how good this tablet was. I mean, I'm reviewing a whole slew of different tablets at the moment, and that's for a whole different bunch of reasons. Firstly, because I've been using drawing tablets since the early 90s, and a lot of the drawing tablets that I use are Wacom, and they have been for years and years and years and years. I've only been on YouTube now for kind of 2 and a bit, maybe coming up to 3 years, and it's been absolutely great. And I do a lot of Wacom videos. I don't review a lot of Wacoms, but I do a lot of Wacom videos. Why? Because Wacom's the brand that I've predominantly used for years. So I get people in the comments every now and again who say things like, "Oh, you're a Wacom shill," or a Wacom fanboy. And it really bugs me, because I'm not, and I try to make my videos as honest as possible. So yeah, it really bugs me when people say things like that. And I know that most of this comes out of the fact that they're jealous. For a large part, they're just jealous that I've got something they haven't got. They want the piece of tech that I'm using and they haven't got it, and or they can't really draw and I can draw, and people are just plain nasty on YouTube, and I know that, and there are a lot of haters out there. So I'm not going to pretend that's not what it's about, and I know a lot of these people are just 13-year-old kids, because the one thing that you do notice is that, if I click on their profile, ooh, surprise, surprise, the people who say these nasty things are the people who never post a video. Wow! And you can guarantee that. You guarantee that every time. Sorry, I've gone off on a rant, but I won't apologise for that. But yeah, so I never say anything about this in my videos. This is the first time. But rather than do a video with a rant about this, and this isn't that ranty video, but rather than do a video which is just a rant about that, I thought, well, I'll get a bunch of drawing tablets in by different companies and do honest reviews. I do try different branded drawing tablets out now and again. If I'm around at a friend's house or another illustrator's house, or in a different studio, and they've got a drawing tablet, I try it out. And sometimes I like these drawing tablets and sometimes I don't. And yeah, so I know what these drawing tablets are like. But obviously I can't do reviews of them because I don't have them, and I don't get to try them out for extended periods of time, so I can't give an honest appraisal, a full appraisal. So I thought I will actually reach out to companies, get some drawing tablets in, and do full reviews, and that way people will be able to see that I do give my honest full opinions of all these different drawing tablets, and then nobody will be able to call me a Wacom shill or a fanboy who doesn't give honest full appraisals. So yeah, there you go. And I talked about that for so long now that I've started to add colour to the Predator. I just wanted to get that off my chest though. I mean, in all fairness, it's one of those issues, I found the stylus to be very comfortable to hold. I would have liked a more rubberized tip towards the end of the stylus. Now, the shape of the overall stylus was very, very comfortable, and it looks you know, more modern and very cool compared to a lot of other styluses out there. So yeah, no, I'm overall very happy with the stylus. Now the nibs themselves are all very hard and plastic. I don't think that's too much of a problem. Now one thing you can do, I've found, is just get a light sanding block or one of those nail chamfers and just give the plastic nib just that ever so light sanding, and that will just soften it up a touch, and that works fine. The screen has a nice matte finish. Now this isn't the same as the Wacom paper feel, but it's close enough. It depends what you want realistically. I'm just happy it's not gloss. You know, for me for me that's good enough. But that matte finish on this screen, yeah, it's really good, and I'm happy with this. It just means that my pen doesn't glide around. If they could give me a more rubberized nib, I think the combination of that and the matte screen will be absolutely perfect for working on. Now the screen is a 1920 by 1080 screen. It's not a 2K or a 4K screen. I would have preferred 2K, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. But yeah, the 1980 by 1080, absolutely fine. The Photoshop canvas I'm working on right now is 400 dpi, and it's about A2 in size, which is, if you know your paper sizes, that's absolutely huge. The idea being that I can blow this up to poster size. You know, you could have this as a banner. If you've seen me in the studio, then the posters hanging on the wall, the large posters, this is the same size as one of those. Everything that I work on, even the sketches, they're all that size, because if I like something I do, then I can just work it up and it can be printed up. You know, just like this. I like this, I like where it's going, so I can work it up, print it off, sell it as limited edition prints if I want. Like I say, just follow me on Twitter if you're interested in that. So, colours getting added into this now. Colours might seem a bit funny, but I'm only adding in kind of the first layers of colour, and these are equivalent to traditional washes. So, yeah, they look a bit funny. People are, I know people are going to ask about the colour gamut of this particular monitor. Now, it did take a little bit of calibration, and it was a bit fiddly, but after about, I'd say about 10 minutes, I managed to get it to a place where I was happy enough with it. I think if I'd have spent about half an hour, I'd have got it near enough perfect. The screen inside of this, it's not 99.9% accurate. I'd say it was probably 97-98% accurate, maybe. So yeah, for those people who are kind of photo retouchers who are living on the edge of perfect, then yeah, you guys are gonna be moaning. But you are the guys who have photo calibrators anyway, color calibrators. But for most people out there, then you can do this by eye and then shift it across to various monitors and double check everything. Me, I've been doing this long enough that I kind of know just by looking at something, and know by looking at the I work from CMYK sliders, as you can see there in the top right hand corner. I know by looking at those and by looking at the image kind of what feels right and wrong, and then when I shift it across to various monitors, I know what's right and wrong, so I'm happy enough after about 10 minutes of playing with the color settings. If this was going to be my main drawing tablet, I would have calibrated this a bit more. But yeah, perfectly happy with the color settings on this. It does tend to use the same monitor calibration settings as most of the other drawing tablets out there, I've noticed. All the other Huions and XP Pen and yeah, the other drawing tablets that I've seen. You do notice a bit of difference between my camera and the screen grab there, but really that's I think that's more the fault of my camera. But hey, you know, if I calibrated that so the screen looked perfect, then the video of me, my arm, the back of my head, everything would be really kind of color distorted. So I corrected it more for that than what was going on the screen there. Now what you're kind of seeing here is, you know, sped up as I mentioned before, but I kind of think that one thing I haven't pointed out so far is that I'm not really using the hotkeys too much. Reason being is I'm having to shoot from the right hand side of me, and so if I use the hotkeys there, now the trouble is if I do that, then I block the screen from the camera, and if I put the camera on the other side of me, then my hand blocks the screen, so you can't exactly see what I'm drawing. Double jeopardy. So yeah, I don't get to use the hotkeys while I'm filming this. It just means, you know, I have to use the on-screen controls and rely purely on the buttons on the stylus. Isn't a big problem, you know. I remember a time before hotkeys, so. In fact, hotkeys have been around for many years, kind of mid-90s, so there wasn't that much of a time before hotkeys. They were around very early on, but you kind of only had like 2 or 3 in the very beginning. They are absolutely great. We had F keys that were kind of built into the tablet themselves, not into the bezel, but they were kind of touch points on the actual tablet surface. Some tablets today still have F points. Now that I've got some basic color on, I can go in and I can add contrast onto that color and add darker and lighter colors in as well, and really change those up. The main thing is I want to start adding in focal points onto the colors and really build in the saturations and start adding in some deeper colors. I think when we switch back to the screenshot, then you'll really appreciate, you know, that the mouth being a point of contention to me, you know, it is a place where I'm permanently going to focus my efforts for the next while. But I'm starting to get more and more happy with it, especially the eyes. The eyes are really coming along for me. But the color palette for a predator is this kind of brown in a lot of sense. I don't know where the green came from, but I just wanted to add in another color because I didn't want it to be this browny yellow, even though that kind of felt right. And I was trying to draw the original predator rather than one of these kind of horrible new predators that you kind of see in the last couple of sequels. All in all though, my thumb's found its way to the lower couple of hotkeys, which were Alt, Spacebar, and Control, I think it was. So my hands settled there quite nicely, and that's all I really needed. And I've got to say, on any shortcuts, any hotkeys, you only really need about 3 at the kind of minimum, and about 5 at the maximum. The sliders and things like that, they're absolutely great to use, but I've got to say, one thing I would have absolutely loved, one thing that would have taken this tablet to the next level for me, would have been a touch input. I miss my gestures a lot. I like gestures, I like touchscreen. I know a lot of artists aren't bothered by it, but personally for me, I like touchscreen. It's one of the reasons why I stopped using Apple products, because Apple refused to give us touch on MacBook Pros. They reserved that right for the iPad. So I stopped using Apple and moved over to Windows, who were going crazy for touch and pen. For me, yeah, I like touch. If this tablet had touch, or if there was a touch version of this, I think that would be great. And I think I really could see that happening. I think Huion, if they started developing more and more touch devices, I think that could really make them stand out more above the competition, because the competition that does have touch, a lot of the competition are struggling with it. And I have to say, I think that's really because Microsoft are giving people problems with it. Wacom had some problems recently with driver issues and everything like that, and it turned out it wasn't Wacom who were having the issues, it was a Microsoft problem, and it gave a lot of people a lot of trouble. And Microsoft released an update, and it caused a lot of artists a world of hurt, including myself actually. It stopped me drawing for an entire day, and it gave me issues for about 2 weeks, on and off. But if say Huion could integrate touch into the next generation of their devices and do it well, I think a lot of artists would really appreciate that. Let me know what you think in the comments below about that. Do you think touch would be nice to see? I do. So like I say, I've started to integrate the contrast into this now, and I think that's really come along into the mouth section, and particularly around the eyes. And like I mentioned before, those eyes are kind of definitely deeper wells, deeper pits, and it's definitely making him kind of more Predator-esque. And yeah, I've knocked those dreadlocks back a bit, but that's not through choice, it's just the way that all the details were knocked back when I started adding that initial colour. But if you imagine those dreadlocks as becoming darker again, then that's certainly gonna look more and more like a Predator. The funny thing is, it's the mouth. The mouth is the key to the Predator. I don't know if you know this, but small Predator factoid: James Cameron, I believe, was involved in the initial Predator. Only slightly, kind of. I don't know if he was a producer or whether he was just friends with everybody, and he just kind of wandered in one day. But he was the guy who said, "Oh, you should give this thing mandibles," and they did. before the original design, before this design should I say, there was another design, and because they already started shooting before this design was in place, and there was another design and it had a costume and they were shooting, and then they decided that that original design just wasn't good enough, so they created this design to replace it with, and everybody was happy. And yeah, it was this design, and James Cameron said, hey, give it mandibles, and they did, and this is the famous design. But the original design that they started chewing with looked weird. Go and look it up. But in that original costume was a very famous actor. Jean-Claude Van Damme was running around the forest in a big green, pink, kind of reddish pink costume with a floppy head. Oh, it would have been a rubbish film. Not because of Van Damme, obviously, he's awesome beyond belief. But yeah, the costume looked rubbish. But there you go. And they just, yeah, decided it wasn't good enough, so they changed it. If you want another Predator factoid, the guy in this Predator outfit, you actually do see his face right at the end of the film, right at the end of the first Predator film. He's the chopper pilot who flies over at the end to kind of pick Arnie up. He's the, you know, chopper pilot. So yeah, a couple of Predator factoids for you. I finally get to move on to the top of the head now, adding more detail, and all I remember about the top of the head here is how domed it is and spiky it is, but there are kind of these plates and ridges, and for me this is where it starts to really become the Predator. I'm actually starting to get into some level of detail with this illustration as well, and I've only got 6 layers, as well as that obligatory layer of white, obviously. But yeah, 6 layers for me that's really, really respectful, you know. So I'm quite surprised at that. But the nice thing is that I can keep working on this, and the detail level is, I don't know, it's really coming together really, really nicely. And this for me is kind of a make or break point, because I think the forehead of the Predator, obviously, like I said before, the mouth is a big point, but you can kind of forget what the inside of the mouth looks like, and I seriously have done. I know it needs kind of more pinkish around the bottom of the mouth, but the mandibles are the big thing, and the top of the head are the big thing. And the top of the head, just like a Klingon, can change wildly. But I think if you're doing, like I mentioned, classic Predator from Predator 1 or Predator 2, then they kind of look very, very similar. So I have to get this right. So I'm darkening this here, and straight away just it jumps to another level. Instantly that looks 100%, kind of 200% more like the Predator. And yeah, for me, you can see how much more that looks like the Predator. And I'm not even darkening it really, it's just, you know, you're looking at it now on my screen grab. So, but I am darkening it in the fact that, you know, you just saw the mouth go a lot darker there, and I'm starting to put more line work in, so you're starting to see bits of it, kind of that line work coming into effect, and I'm starting to add in the detail work as well that you're seeing, the the shading work, adding contrast in certain key areas where it really needs it, like that lower jaw is not defined. Predator as well has a lot of spiky areas that I love. Remember those really fine kind of spikes that he has around his head? It's really hard to describe, but if I can't do that, then I shouldn't be on YouTube, I suppose. But yeah, he has kind of these ridges around his head, but he also has these kind of spikes, these how do I put it? Yeah, these kind of like a porcupine kind of spikes that come out of his head as well. They're awesome, and they do kind of really make a large part of the kind of Predator look. So I have to put those in, and they're gonna become really cool. But I now have to shade the whole Predator head so it doesn't look too bright and kind of white, because it really does look very white up there. The thing is, because I had the image kind of peeking off the top of my monitor, I'd really neglected that portion of his head. But it's not a bad thing necessarily, because now I get to negatively colour those patches in. You know, rather than just do it in one big sweep, I get to add it in the areas. So, you know, painting in the diamonds in reverse there, as you can see, and it works out kind of well. But yeah, he's coming along and he looks very Predator-ish. And I did think, what could I paint in the background, and should I add in an actual background? Like, should I add in some foliage or a cityscape? You know, is he Predator 1? Is he Predator 2? Should I add in some weird kind of ships? Some, you know, the ship from the internal of the ship. You know, I read a lot of the Predator comic book when I was a teenager. I could add in the alien skull from, you know, the end of Predator 2, but then I just thought, well, I kind of scribbled just a lot of random hair because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with his hair, and then it struck me, actually it'd be nice just to have hair in the background. This kind of background that's kind of something and nothing kind of really works. So yeah, I thought that might be nice, kind of just to go for that. Predators are covered in these spots as well. Some of them are small, some of them are large, and I decide to go with the smaller spots first. Now, this is the kind of thing that if I was doing a finished illustration, traditionally what I would do, obviously I would put these on a separate layer, and I would probably do this at a very later stage in the illustration, because I wouldn't want to do them and then have to change the arrangement of them or accidentally draw over them. So yeah, it's one of those things where you do that at a lot later stage, but in a sketch, do them early on so I know exactly where they're going and where they're going around other things. You know, it's fine at this stage. It's kind of like, oh, I don't care about it, move on, just get it down because it's just entered my mind. You know, when you're just doing a sketch, if it enters your mind, draw it down. If you're doing a finished illustration for a client or for an actual project, then write it down in your notepad instead, because you know the order that things get done in. It's like, now I'm at the point where that top of the head and the shape, I want to do that, but I know in order to do that I need to start getting the hair down, because it's all about the shading and how the top of that head is going to disappear into the background. So yeah, so for me, I'm going to start doing his hair and getting the shape of that hair correct. Now, I'm not thinking about the body and where the body's going to go. At this point I'm thinking, yeah, I'll just draw hair. Funnily enough, I am going to add a bit of a body in, but I'm going to cheat that right at the end. Suckers. But sorry guys. But yeah, so at this point I'm just adding in hair, and I'm kind of loosely copying the sketch, and that really works with hair, because when you sketch hair you kind of just do it loose and fast. When you draw hair, you don't do it loose and fast, but you should do it loose and fast. So sketch it loose and fast first, and then on a new layer kind of trace your sketch. That's the best way to do it. Now these dreadlocks, so they're really thick, so it makes sense to use a really thick brush, but I like to torture myself, so I don't. You know, I should do, because then the thickness is correct, but I don't know. I don't want to get any kind of weird brush thicknesses, so yeah, I'm just doing it this way. That way I have complete and utter control. That's really what it comes down to. If this was a finished illustration, I probably would add a little blur in here anyway. But then again, I'd colour each and every one of them individually as well, just so you can see which one's on top of which one. But you know, again, that's me torturing myself, but it works out better, because you get to, as a viewer, you get to spend more time just kind of losing yourself in the Predator's hair, because Predator's hair is amazing. I would spend a lot of time as well looking at research images of the Predator's hair. Now, any kind of images you'd be able to find would just be black, but if you kind of manage to find some behind the scenes footage or behind the scenes photographs of the films, they'd probably be your best images in a way. That's just my experience of doing film characters behind the scenes, or maybe sometimes some really good photography of the costumes can also be very enlightening as well. And obviously you can see that even though this was still a sketch, I did add some highlights in. Obviously I didn't do that to all of the hair, I just did it to bits of the hair here and there. Now, one thing you can do is, no matter which program you're using, if you're using Photoshop or Corel Painter, or no matter what you're using, you can go in and just add with a blur brush or a smoothing brush or something like that. Just go in and just get a bit of that to just make your lines just look a bit better. Now, I don't use line smoothing, even though I'm just using the straightforward Photoshop brush. I don't use line smoothing, I don't have that turned on. Never do, because I hate that. It just slows down your brush so much. Just even if you have it turned on by like 5%, it just kills your brush action. But yeah, if you use something afterwards and just smooth out the line, it works a treat. So the Predator has these things in his hair that obviously make him really look like Predator, and they're gold, sometimes they're silver. I'd have to do a little more research into the actual finished design of these, but for me, this being sketch, yep, I was perfectly happy just drawing in what I wanted to from imagination. Again, different layer, just because this is the kind of thing where you could really get the placement wrong or draw in too many of them, and it's a nightmare trying to get these out. Might be the thing where I could have added in a really bright intense light behind the hair as well. that could have been really nice. I didn't do that, but it could have been really nice. In fact, if I go back and work on this as a finished illustration, it might be something I do. You know, I will point out that one thing I have in here in the studio, if you've ever watched my previous videos, you might have noticed, I have on the studio wall a Predator mask. And it's a replica of the Predator 1 mask as well. It's quite cool. It's not like the full wraparound one, it's only kind of a soft replica of it's just one you put on your face. It's a kind of a porcelain one, but it's quite, yeah, it's really awesome. My wife got me it for a birthday present one year. I won't say what year or how old I am, that'd be awful. Put it this way, I'm younger than that. I look younger than I am. You can see in the top right hand corner I've actually just put the video up there so you can watch me drawing while having the screen cap on there. I thought that'd be a nice way of comboing it now. So I've now blended the top of the head into the hair so you can see it all coming together as finished piece. The eyes are nicely darkened in now. All this detail is really coming together. You probably can't see my brush moving around because I'm working on tiny details, which is why it's good to have that little block in the top right hand corner where you can see me drawing. You know, I keep popping open that new document window because I keep pressing hotkeys that I shouldn't be pressing. But yeah, the whole picture, just adding these tiny details now, it's really coming together, and I'm just trying to get this to look even more like the Predator if I can. I've noticed that by having his brow whiter, it does really help. And yeah, for me, I think the piece is almost there. We're only about 3/4 of the way through the video now. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on how well this piece has come together. I think if I'd have had a reference image, then this piece would have been done by now. Easily if I'd have had a reference image. But I think to say that I had no reference image and to say that I'm just doing this from memory, okay, I have pretty much over the last day or so just finished watching Predator 1 and 2, you know, so that it's still fresh in my mind. I think I've done pretty well, but yeah, I'm happy with this. I think another day, if I spent a full day on this now or another 2 days on this, I think I could make it pretty cool. Definitely I could make this a good limited edition print. But it's, you know, let me know what you guys think. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that little notification bell. I think it'd be cool. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you guys want me to do in the next draw test. Is there anybody you'd like me to, you know, draw? Sometimes it's pretty hard to come up with ideas for draw tests. I don't particularly love drawing fan art, but you know, I prefer to come up with new ideas. But now and again something just pops into my head and I think, oh, do you know what? Yeah, I like to do that. I heard Buffy the Vampire Slayer is being rebooted. I used to love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so I might end up doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer original, not reboot. Who cares about that? But yeah, I might end up doing a Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of poster for my for either a live stream or for a draw test. That might be cool. You know, maybe do the Master or somebody, or Buffy herself. I don't know. But I've got to say, this has actually been a really enjoyable draw test, and the tablet itself has been really enjoyable to work on. The stand has not given me any grief. it's a stand that you see on a lot of drawing tablets. The tablet itself has felt really firm and secure. The cables come out of the side, which a few tablets are doing now, but given the fact that all tablets, you know, a lot of tablets out there used to come out at the bottom. Oh, and that was awful. It really was awful, because it meant when you lowered the tablet too far down, you know, the stand didn't work properly. This still has some buttons on the bottom, which I'd like to see shift to the back. Yeah, I've already said about the stylus being absolutely great. I would like to see tilt and rotate added at some point, if possible. I don't think Huion are going to be that far behind. You know, a lot of artists say that they can live without it. I mean, obviously it's a good artist that can use any tablet, but once you've had tilt and rotate, you know, a good artist makes use of them. And a lot of Photoshop brushes, a lot of Painter brushes make use of tilt and rotate. All programs make use of these features, so it is good to have them. iPad uses tilt and rotate, so it's not exclusive to Wacom. You know, I'm sure over the next few years we are going to see Huion, and I think Huion are, you know, next in line, I'm sure, to get these features. From what I understand, you know, they're the company that people expect to get next. So yeah, I can't wait to see what the kind of next few features are. They've got the matte screen, they've got hotkeys. I would like to see kind of slightly chunkier bezels, maybe, if I'm being really picky, just at the side. But then again, I get a lot of people in reviews, you know, saying that they don't like bezels. Personally, I think these people are troglodytes, and I want to kick them off my channel. I'm joking. But yeah, bezels are good for resting your forearms on, resting your wrists on once you've been drawing for a long time. You know, your arms get tired, your hands get tired, and you need someone to rest your wrists on. And that's why when you use something like the Surface Studio, you suddenly realise, there's nothing to rest your arms on, and you know, you need that. So this does have bezels, but the bezels are taken up by the hotkeys, so maybe I would like some more bezel, just for resting my appendages on. That would be cool. Now, yeah, I'm happy with the amount of hotkeys. I'm happy with the sliders there. You know, there are a lot of things that they've done absolutely right. I think really it's just about refinement, but I fully understand that refining a device comes at a price, and they've done amazingly well with their price point. So realistically, you know, what more can you give your customers without charging them an absolute fortune? You know, so yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. And given the fact that I'm happy, you know, drawing on this, is it enough? And yeah, I think if you're a semi-pro artist, it really is, because if you go any higher, then what's the point? Wacom already filled that point in the market. Huion are filling this point in the market. Everything's golden. You know, the only thing I'd say is that You know, I just keep going back to the point about the nibs that I mentioned in my review. Some more rubberized nibs. To be honest, how much would that cost? Virtually nothing. I think, you know, a tiny bit of market research there. Obviously the manufacturing of the nibs, so little money there, and that will vastly improve the quality of the product. So I'd be happy with that. You know, out of all the things I've mentioned here in this video and in my review, I think some rubberized nibs, and you've made me a lot happier. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think that's good enough? What other comments do you think that I've made that you'd really like to see? You know. Also, one thing I want to ask, let me know if you guys think this is the stupidest comment ever. Oh, I've just colorized the top of his head. I hope you guys like that, because I really like that. As soon as I did that, I was like, yes. Here's the stupidest question ever, by the way. All drawing tablets are either grey or black. Now, would you guys want to see a different colour drawing tablet? Because we all have like different colour monitors and different colour keyboards and different colour phones, and especially phones. You get phones in white and space grey and red and white, blues, and you know, these different metallic finishes. And is it me being really stupid, or would you guys like a white? Maybe it's because I've got like a white studio, like a white desk, you know, all this stuff. Would a white drawing tablet be cool? Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking how one drawing tablet company could kind of change things up and make their drawing tablet be like, damn, that stands out. Just a thought. It is literally just a thought, because everybody's drawing tablet kind of looks the same. And you know, I saw that one white stand on the drawing tablet and thought, huh, if you can have a white stand, could you have a white drawing tablet? Just an idea. So these teeth are starting to look a bit more like the Predator teeth. Well, a lot more like the Predator teeth. And I've made the bottom of his jaw a lot more pink now. I'm really happy with the way, you know, he is looking more and more like the Predator. His eye sockets are a lot darker. The top two teeth look more like the Predator. Overall, like I said, his top of his head, the kind of crown there around the top of his head, looks more like, I mean, you can see the difference there between the two colours, that orangey look there. Yeah, really Predator. And it is a lot like a Klingon in the fact that he has that kind of unique shape to it. I'm really happy there. The hair as well, it is just a mass of tangles and hair, and I'm really happy. But I need to add in some kind of body, otherwise it's just a floating head, you know, almost to the point where you could add in a hand grabbing his head, which is, I think, the new poster image for the new Predator film. But I'm not going to do that. So I can add in, first of all, like the shoulder pad. I could even add in the gun if I wanted to. But first thing I can do is add in like the shoulder pad that the Predator has. He has that kind of big silver shoulder pad. I'm going to add it in, not silver though, I'm going to add it in green, because the overall image has very green light to it, and that would be cool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a very simplified shoulder pad, because I don't want the body elements to stand out too much. And as you can see, I haven't added in too many layers. I think I'm up to like layer 10 or 11, so there's not too much at all. And yeah, I just want to keep this as simple as possible, not do too much here at all. And if you've noticed, still, we're almost there now. We're at 1 hour and 5 minutes, so we've got 10 minutes to go, and I've still just used that original Photoshop brush. So if you use Photoshop but you use all those crazy brushes, stop it. Those crazy brushes, as far as I'm concerned, are cheating. I have a massive library of brushes, but I barely ever use them. I might use them now and again for foliage. I've created most of them that I use, and it's for foliage or for clouds or for kind of cracks and fire and stuff like that. Most of I take photos of things when I'm out and about, and then I turn those into brushes. But most of the time when I'm working, I don't use them. I just use them every now and again. But as you can see here, I can do this entire illustration without a single one. But I could do this illustration, get it finished here in this video, and then take this over to Corel Painter, where I just use good old painter brushes to finish it up. And that's a really nice way of getting a very unique painting, is to use two different programs. It doesn't have to be Painter and Photoshop. It could be Sketchable and then Painter, or it could be Sketchable and then Photoshop, or Photoshop and then Sketchable. I've used a whole myriad of things. I've even started drawings on my phone and then taken them over to Photoshop. I actually do that a lot. But yeah, I have the Note 8 phone, and you can go and watch my reviews of that. I've got a whole playlist. I've got like 11 videos in that. But you can see I'm just slowly blending this, and with a good old blender brush, and using my traditional Photoshop brush, and just turning the size of this up and turning the softness up as well, and then just adding some fine detail in with the kind of cracks that the Predator armor has, and doing that by using a very dark tone and a very light tone to make the cracks highlighted, and whatever the opposite of highlighted is, adding the darker bits in and the lighter bits in where the cracks are, and it works really well. But you can see these are just two plates of the shoulder pad armor, and just a little more of this and I'll be happy. But I could carry on with this, add the other shoulder pads in, make it really elaborate, but the good thing is you don't have to do too much of this because we're not seeing too much. And on top of that, it's a sketchy concept piece, so the viewer of this doesn't really expect too much, doesn't really want for too much. It's a bit like leaving the corners of your piece kind of faded out or blended into nothingness. You can get away with quite a lot, and that works out to be quite nice. So yeah, but at the same time, it depends how much you want to do. I can just keep working and working and working on this. I do want to point out that this tablet never got hot at any point. I would put that down to the fact that this tablet is only a lower resolution 1920 by 1080 tablet, and you know, it's not a 4K tablet or anything. It's got some vent slots at the back, obviously, and everything like that. But yeah, this tablet, after hours and hours of drawing, I did another drawing before this, and I'd had it on all day as a monitor as well, and it didn't get hot, so I was perfectly happy with that. Next bit I'm going to add on just here is going to be the product had kind of a rubberized neck brace on here that looked like it was kind of made from old vacuum cleaner bits. But yeah, and that's really easy to just make up. Just blacking this in, and then some green lines just color picked from the background there, and then just adding some highlights in, and you can just see how quickly that just brings the predator's neck and torso to life there, and then just filling in all those extra bits there. There you go. Like I say, you can just leave the other shoulder and whatever else. Don't need to worry about it. And you can see this final picture on my Instagram, which is LAWRENCEcanDRAW. Please come and check me out. I will be uploading pictures on a regular basis from now on. I've not been doing that before because it's been extremely bothersome to, you know, upload pictures, because you can only upload to Instagram from your phone, but now I can upload from my computer. I will be doing it all the time. You know, this picture is already up there, and along with some other recent ones as well. But yeah, that is ultra cool. This thing is looking really detailed and nice with the color as well. Hopefully some newer stuff is going to be put up. I've loads of stuff waiting to be put up as well, stuff from other recent draw tests. I've just got to wait for the videos to go up on YouTube before I can release those pictures. Maybe I'll sneak preview the pictures up on Instagram, so that anybody who follows me on Instagram will get to see the draw test pictures beforehand. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Let me know what you think about that. Make sure to post this and share this on Facebook. That'd also be awesome. So just, yeah, find me on all social media. I am pretty much everywhere, you know, ArtStation, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, just search for LAWRENCEcanDRAW anywhere and you'll always find me. I thought I would sign this piece with the bright red, which is also obviously the Predator's laser color. Oh, obviously. Yeah, like you didn't immediately think of that too. Should I say. I hope you enjoyed this semi-tutorial Huion review rant strange video. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Do you have this drawing tablet? Do you have another drawing tablet? What drawing tablet do you have, and what drawing tablet are you thinking of getting? Remember to subscribe, hit that little notification bell, because even if you are subscribed these days, it doesn't mean a thing unless you hit that notification bell. Thank you for sticking with me for an hour and 15 minutes. You are a brave and wonderful, beautiful soul. Love you forever. See you in the next video. I hope you like this piece as much as I do. Comment, like and subscribe. See you soon. Make sure to share this video. Bye.